conserved land. Here in Colorado, we've worked with over 500 families and have conserved 850,000 acres, so that's bigger than the state of Rhode Island. It's a lot of conserved land statewide, and a lot of it's here in northwest Colorado. I'm sure all of you know of ranches that are conserved here in the county. And we were actually founded right here in Routt County, so that's really important and special. I'm sure a lot of you know Jay Fetcher. Jay was one of our founding board members, and he worked with his neighbors, Mary Mosier and Steve Stranahan, and probably some of you remember them as well. And they're up in the Upper Elk River Valley, and in the 1990s they recognized the threat that their valley was under from outside pressure, development, residential development, recreation, the ski mountain. And so they wanted to preserve the ranching way of life up there, so they created what's called the Upper Elk River Compact. And it was an agreement between the neighbors to try to conserve the river bottom. And at that time, Colorado didn't have an option for them to work with a land conservation organization, so they worked with a national organization, American Farmland Trust. And they, with that partnership in the early 1990s, conserved a lot of the area around Clark. And then from that effort, they said we need a local solution, and they worked with the Colorado Cattlemen's Association to create CCALT. Also out of that partnership came the Purchase of Development Rights Program, which is the county program. And the county, there's a mill levy, voter-approved mill levy, that helps provide funding to purchase conservation easements from Routt County ranchers, and then in exchange for conservation easement agreement. And the county to date has protected 45,000 acres, and it's cost $24 million to do that. Wow. Leveraging it with NRCS and the state tax credit program, it's actually only cost the county $523 an acre to protect that land. So it's a good deal for the county and the citizens of the county. Another noteworthy part of our history is we merged with the Yampa Valley Land Trust in 2019. Yampa Valley Land Trust was a local land trust here, Steamboat Springs based, but they also worked in Jackson and Rio Blanco counties. And we merged with them in 2019 and created the Yampa Valley Conservation Partnership. And that's really boosted CCALT's land conservation work in northwest Colorado. So really quickly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what conservation easements are in this part. Hopefully it's not too boring, but according to the American Farmland Trust, we're losing 175 acres an hour. Isn't that unbelievable? Of farmland. I know, it's like hard, is that even true? 3 acres a minute is what they're saying in the United States. And so conservation easements are one tool that conserves farmland that private landowners can do, and it's a way for landowners to extract money from the land without selling it. My family has done conservation easements across our ranch in Oak Creek. And it was a way that we were able to consolidate ownership by buying out cousins, and it's a tool that works for a lot of families if your specific goal is not to sell. It's to try to keep it in the family for the next generation. So conservation easements, they're voluntary, they're deed restrictions, they're permanent, run with the land. And in general, what they do is limit subdivision and development and protect the conservation values, so the wildlife, the water, scenic views. You are allowed to build, you're allowed to keep your working ranch operational. They're pretty flexible in allowing traditional uses like hunting and fishing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm going to turn this over to Chula. Really,
sorry.
Really quickly.
That was interesting. I needed to catch that. I didn't know that.
But the last thing I kind of want to say is, like, I've been asked countless times in the 18 years that I've worked for CCALT, like, what's your favorite part of doing this? How can you do the same job for 18 years? It's super interesting to me. I care about agriculture. Clearly, I care about conservation, but the most interesting part to me is the stories of people and connecting the people to the land. And the land becomes sort of a family member, sort of like integrated with their stories. They can't tell you the family history without talking about the land. And that's the part that really I appreciate and I love hearing every time I meet a new landowner or go see their place. And I know Judy, I worked with Judy and Jerry. Oh, it was 10 years ago.
2015.
I was pregnant with my first child and actually talked to Jerry while I was in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
But their family, just the stories that they had about multi-generations on the ranch and their hardships and their hopes and joys. And that's why I really appreciated working on this project with Chula, because art is just another way to tell those stories. And each individual painting that she has really captures something about the family that's worked on that land for generations, and then the collection overall just really tells you of both the hardship and the hope. So it was a great project. I'll turn it over to Chula because I think she's the one you guys really want to hear from.
No.
Thank you so much, Megan. I know you're such a busy mom, worker, student. You're getting your degrees. So Megan is really a true source of wisdom and knowledge here. And thank you for being here today. So yeah, I'm Chula Beauregard. I'm the one who did the paintings in the front room. And there are some historic photos in there as well, and lots of storytelling. So I definitely urge you to go. It's a multimedia show, and it was a collaboration with Katie. And the Treasure Pioneers has a lot of photos in their archives. So that was really special to bring in. So thank you to the Steamboat Springs History Museum for the collaboration, because it really couldn't have happened without you. And also to what I call CCALT. I don't know. How do you say this easily?
Anything that shortens it.
Yeah,
I just
anything that
say
shortens
CCALT.
it. I know. Yeah, CCALT. So thank you for that collaboration. But more than anything, thank you to the ranchers that are in the show. They are really the stars of the show, and they're the ones who took the time, gave me the tours, shared their stories, shared their lives, and it just meant so much to me. So thank you. And Judy will hopefully share some more stories. So thanks for everybody being here, and I'll be here after the talk to walk you through if you'd like. It's a chronological show, so I would recommend starting in January, and because that's where I started. So it was 2025, and actually it was probably like October before that, where I was in my studio. I was busy with commissions, busy with deadlines and kids and all the things, and I just felt like I was not getting out enough, you know? And it's like, I mean, everybody can relate, especially working from home, like my home is my studio. I was like, I need to get out. How can I get out of my studio more? And I thought, you know, I've always been curious about the land trust properties in Round County. And what would happen if I visited those maybe on a monthly basis, maybe for a whole year? And it just sort of kind of came to me that it would really tell a fuller story of the ranching community and the land, and the passage of time, the seasons, but also the hard work that happens at each of those times. So it sort of formed, and I hadn't talked to anybody really about this idea, but I knew the first one I would go to was the Fetcher Ranch, because Molly Fetcher and I went to school together. We graduated in the same class, and her parents are close with mine, and I always knew about Jay's work with the Land Trust. I mean, this was like family lore of how wonderful all this work was that Jay was doing. And so I thought, well, I know I'm always invited to go paint there. I'll just go. So I just show up with my car and my paint kit, and I just set up and paint their barn and the horses, or not, they didn't, well, they were there, but the red Angus cows. And got my, okay, now January's done. Now what else? And then I asked them, and they said, oh yeah, no, you should go to Mary Kurtz. Go to her place, and I hadn't talked to her yet, so I just painted on the road and painted her ranch. And I mean, this is the way I started, just like kind of ad hoc. March came, and I knew then I needed to go to the Gay Ranch, another old friend of the family, Elaine Gay, such a wonderful woman with conservation, land conservation, and just showing all of us how we can all work together to protect this beautiful place. That was my early lesson when I was like in 6th grade, when she was working towards preserving the Pleasant Valley. So I went there. And after that, I was like, okay, Megan, you need to help me. I ran out. I need to know, where should I go next? And Megan, she didn't mention this part, but she has an artist's eye. And that was key, because I was like, explain the whole thing, and she said, well, if you go at this time of year, then you'll see, the colors on Judy's ranch. You can't miss that, so do that in October. And then, oh yeah, you need to see the haying at the Rossi Ranch in June, because it's really cool and all this. And so you mapped it out for me. You sat there and we got the calendar and mapped it out. And that is really what helped me with the rest of the year. So I put it together, and every month I would go get a tour, hear the stories, hear, what are you doing right now? What are your struggles? What are your thoughts? I learned so much. I mean, the stories for sure, but also just, what is life like out here? I mean, from what I saw, ranching is a lot of work. And so they're not going to be in town, hanging out at the library like, oh yeah, I'm just here on a Saturday afternoon, I can tell you all about it. It's like, no, they're busy working on Saturday afternoon, I really had the opportunity to go where they were, see what was their challenge and their hope and dreams and everything, and their generations coming up. And after the tour, then I would set up and paint, knowing now in my mind what they shared with me, what I was seeing, and how can I capture that in a painting. And so those are the paintings that you can see out there on the wall. And that's the chronological order that I did those. And then I worked with the Tread and looked through their archives, and that was really exciting, because then I could see, oh my gosh, this photo is perfect to go with this day. Like, this is exactly what I learned, the Monger Ranch is April, and actually I have this image. So Krista Monger hosted me one day, and all the moms were out there with the babies, and this was April. So it was pretty dry fields, but all the babies were very protected by the moms, and if they weren't, then it was Krista's job to make sure that pairing happened, because Krista had to step back and let the moms do that work. Krista was actually taking care of one of the calves on her yard, on the front lawn, because the mom didn't accept it yet. And there wasn't the pairing yet. So Krista was doing that work. But so I painted the moms and the babies, I painted the colors that day, and then later I did this studio piece, and my son actually helped me with the title. It's called House of Mom, because the moms were truly the house, it was protecting, providing, and so that's just one small example. But as I was looking through the photos, incredibly, the woman that homesteaded that ranch in the Monger family, there's a photo of her with her 5 kids sitting on this car, and it was a year before she died of influenza. She had one more child, 6 kids, and then she died from the Spanish flu. And it's just this mom with all these tiny babies around her, and there's your House of Mom. I mean, it was that parallel with these photos and the paintings and the image and the stories. It was so exciting to find those images and tell the story in that rich way. So, Katie, I would like to present this to you. Oh. This is a gift to you from me.
Thank you.
So,
love it.
The original of that painting actually got sent up to the Russell auction in Montana and sold, but I was able to make prints, and so these prints are for sale in the show and for gifts to Megan and Katie. So does anybody have the time? How am I doing here?
It's 12:20.
12:20? 3? Okay. All right. So I think I have about 7 more minutes. Trying to think. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay, and then we will do questions at the end as well, but go ahead.
I just wondered, when you were interviewing all of these ranchers and the people and what they did and their stories, did you keep a journal, or did you keep a verbal, into your phone or anything?
That would have been really smart. It all just felt like, no, I did not. I kind of let it wash over me, and then I used it as my inspiration for the paintings, and then also in the storytelling for the show. So I think in a lot of ways, my big ideas for each ranch I wrote down, and those big ideas are in the text in the show. Yeah, and actually the opening night, May 1st, I'm so used to these big gallery openings, and you're talking so loud, like your voice hurts and you can't hear each other. And this opening was almost silent.
Oh.
And it was because everyone was reading all the labels. And it was so special to me, because really that's one of the huge benefits of being in this museum with this show, is when people walk into this Steamboat History Museum, they think, I'm going to learn something. You're open to learning. And that was really what I wanted from the show, too. I wanted people to come in and see the art and think, I'm open to learning something maybe that I never knew before. And they did that night. That was really cool. And I want to do a shout out to Mary Kurtz. She is an author, and she helped us a lot with the text on each label, because there's so much information. I realized this show is almost like writing a book. I mean, you had to have it edited, and this is where Katie came in. It's like, ask all the ranchers, like, what's the actual name of your ranch? I know it is this, but you have a name. What is it? Is this the story you want to tell? Did we get this right? How about this? And it's so important. All those details are so important. So it really was like writing a book, and I got help from Mary and Katie on that as well. So that's kind of where the note taking came in, more like that. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I could just share without any specific questions, and then we could do questions after. What's that?
Beavers.
Oh, the beavers. Okay. Yeah, good point. Okay, so in September, I went up to the Elkhead Ranch, which is up in north of Hayden. It's about an hour. In fact, you have to drive into Moffat County and back into Route County to get there. I put about 500 miles on my car for this project. You really had me going all over the place. And that was really cool, like far reaches of Route County that I had never been. So Elkhead Ranch is way up there. That's where the book Nothing Daunted is set, with the Elkhead Schoolhouse. And Heather Sterling owns that ranch, and I believe it's over 8,000 acres of preserved land, which is incredible. And she runs it by herself, pretty much, with her son Nathaniel, but really not a lot of people help her at all. And so I was there in September, and I saw all the wood in the creek. And she said, oh yeah, that's the beavers. And she has the privilege of owning both sides of the creek. So she could let the beavers, if it's not on a ditch, she could let them build their dams here in the creek. And she said last year it truly saved them from the drought, because that's where then she could water the horses, she could pull the water out for her cows, and otherwise, it would just run by. So she's still struggles when they try to chop down a big tree or put their dam in the ditch. But she did show me that there is some way to work with the beavers, which is new, I think, in the ranching community and CPW. In fact, last year, 2025, was the first year CPW put together a beaver management program. I mean, first ever. Before it was just like, I don't know, just deal. But now it's like, wait a minute. Heather realized this is free labor. I'm too busy. My son's not here all the time. We need water. I'll just let them build that, and actually works out. So some things like that where I see, maybe adapting and maybe using some resources that maybe hadn't been used before or thought of in that way. So the studio piece I did from that day is called Western Engineering. And it has the beaver dam on it, and that original painting is actually accepted in the Steamboat Art Museum for the Oil Painters of America show. So if you want to see the original, you have to walk a block and go over to there. So, thanks. Oh, someone's replaying.
12:29.
Is that yours?
I thought I turned it off. Well, that's just telling me to take a pill.
Okay.
Turn the phone off.
I have so many reminders like that. Great. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Judy and then for 15, and then we'll do a little question and answer at the end. So definitely save up your questions. But thanks again for being here. Judy Green opened up her ranch to me in October, so I could see those beautiful cottonwoods, and it was a real honor to be there with you. So thanks for being here today. Thank you.
Welcome, and I hope that by sharing ranch history another way than just talking about it in art form is a whole new way in which to gather people's information to get to non-agricultural people and how much work it is. So we as ranchers have been very privileged by having art on our property. It was October, and I've ridden by or driven by the scene that Chula spoke of or chose to paint 57 years and never thought it was art-worthy. But when she came to the ranch, I put her in the side-by-side, we went up through the bottom, crossed the creek, and I felt for sure she was going to paint a river picture. We're on the East Williams Fork River. And nope, she stopped in the middle of the meadow and looked out across the meadow and saw something I had never thought about, which was the layers of history. Our ranch was founded by my husband's great-grandfather in 1895. So last year we celebrated 130 years of ownership, privilege of owning, I should say, because that land's been there a long, long time. So anyway, the layers of history of the prehistoric art that the Fremont Indians, a pictograph on the Crags Ranch is named after a big sandstone bluff that sticks out. And so the prehistoric people were there. And then Great-Grandpa Green came in 1895. He and his wife homesteaded. So Mary was the first one. They had one child, and maybe some of you know the Bill and Babe Green. He was a county commissioner for a while. So Babe Green became the second lady of the ranch. And then Bill and Babe had my husband's father, Leon, and he married Mabel Yost, who is another old-time family that came in the 1880s. And so Mabel became the matriarch of the family for quite a few years. And then I appeared on their doorstep on Jerry's arm after meeting him at CSU. I am an Easterner. I came from Strasburg, Colorado, which is just east of Denver. A farmer's daughter, which I'm very proud of. But he brought me up into this mountain country, and I said, please don't leave me. I do not know where I'm going. So 57 years later, I do kind of know where I'm going. I like to represent the women that persevered, did without, was very self-sufficient. I really am humbled by being on the ranch now because of their dedication and the sacrifices that those ladies did. They washed their clothes after packing the water to the house, heating it on the old coal stoves, and then they did the wash. And everybody bathed with used over water, milked the cows, fed the chickens, did a garden. I would be very skinny if I had to raise my own food on a garden. I mean, the gardens were tremendous that helped save the family throughout the winter time. But they all worked the land. They did the housework, got their old clothes on, and went out and either drove the team to put the hay up or participated some way during the winter. They rode the sled to go feed the cattle, no matter what the weather was. So these women were very hardy, and I appreciate what they did. I'm thankful for hydraulics. It makes my life a lot better. Just sit on the tractor in the air conditioning and can still do what has been done on that ranch for 130 years. The ranch itself, at first, Great Grandpa was not a rancher in our true sense of the word. He was a farmer, but he liked geology better. He chose that place because of the rock outcropping of the sandstone cliffs, and he made it work. And whatever I would do or will do on this ranch will never last as long as his imprint. Packed fence posts up on the hill to put the fences in that outlined his homestead. Dug them by hand, just tremendous amount of effort to make that ranch possible. And he raised a lot of wheat, oats, barley. And then the next generation of Bill and Babe, they became more cattle oriented. And it was a commercial herd. A commercial herd is a mixed breeds, get them on the ground, sell them in the fall, and make your living that way. You lived from not paycheck to paycheck, but from selling in the fall to the next fall. So it was very different. Then Jerry's dad continued that and expanded, and then Jerry left the ranch in the wintertime. We met and were school teachers out on the eastern slope of Grover, Colorado, a little tiny community out on the plains, and have many good friends out there at this point. But so it gradually then we could come back to what was preserved by our people that came before us. One of the stories that Chula wanted that I shared with Chula, and I hadn't thought about until she said, "Please tell this." So Grandma Babe was known as the Queen of the East Williams Fork. When Grandma went to town, Grandma had gloves, white gloves, purse on her arm, high heels, and always in a dress. And so she's walking down to come to town one day. This is before I was there, but this is telling from the family. Well, Bill was trying to load a sow in the pickup to take her to market. And there's a chute that the sow should have gone up the chute and into the pickup. Okay. Well, she wasn't cooperating. Every time she get about to get off, she'd go. So here comes Grandma, dressed in her high heels. "Ma, come help me put her in the pickup." So Grandma's out there going, "Yeah, yeah." Well, the pig went between Grandma's legs, and off they went over the yard, and nobody laughed because they dared not to laugh. But that was, Grandma dusted herself off probably and got in the car and went. So that's the contribution that she could have. Jerry and I competed in rodeo from college through about when we were 40-ish. And I was never good at roping. Jerry was very good at roping. Well, we had a late calf that year that became an orphan, and we were raising her, but she was as wild as a March hare, and she got a bunch of porcupines in her nose. And so, yeah, we put her in the chute, and one of the chutes had an automatic head gate, which is, it came in and the calf would stick her head through, and she'd push with her shoulders, and it'd lock the head gate. It didn't lock. She got through, and here she is running around, and we can't catch her. And she heads across the bridge, and both Jerry and I got a rope in our hands, and we're chasing her on foot.
Oh, jeez.
Jerry missed. And he said, "Go catch her, go ahead." Well, I caught her that day, and I'm taking 6-foot steps going down through the yard saying, "Help, help, I can't hold her, I can't hold her." And he finally caught up and we dug both heels in and turned her around. She came right back up the road and ran over both of us. Long story short, we got the porcupine quills out. Lots of good times, but lots of hard work, and was satisfying work. So I thank Chula. I thank Megan for being such a positive influence in the ag community to help the ranchers consolidate the ability to pass this on, because it's becoming more and more difficult financially to do that. And so it's been a bonus for us. But I appreciate your investment of coming and watching and looking and seeing and learning. So if you're out my way, I'm 20 miles south of Hayden, and I appreciate the loneliness and the scenery every day. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I didn't hear the one about the porcupine. But I was saying how I really relate to the pink one, because I was getting dressed and like trying to hurry and everything. I'm like, imagine if now I got taken away by a pig. Trying to get to the brown bag. Oh man, it's hard enough getting out of the house, let alone away from the ranch. So that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we will take questions from any of the three of us here if anyone has any questions. And then otherwise, we can also meet you over in the exhibit. Yes, thank you for having questions. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's two questions. One is, would you share with us how you got into all this artwork, and at what age, and what inspired you, and were you like told you were going to be an artist, or you decided you'd be one, or how that went? And then I was wondering if you already are thinking of another idea that you might want to do.
Thank you. Very good questions. In fact, I was really honored by the Oil Painters of America when they had their national show here. They asked me to do a museum talk. So we actually crammed about 50 people in here, and a lot of people out there, and a lot of people here. It was too busy, too many people. But I have it on YouTube, that entire talk, and it's about 40 minutes on Chula Beauregard Fine Art YouTube channel. And it goes into detail with my own history and inspiration. But long story short, my parents were very encouraging of the arts. And unlike most art majors, when I called my mom and said I was majoring in art, she said, "Oh, great!" So I've always had backing for the creative arts from my parents. But we started because we went on a boat trip when I was 11 and was homeschooled, and so my mom had her watercolors, and I just started painting and realizing that I could actually paint these paintings I see in my mind. And I don't know how, you know, when you're like on a trail and all of a sudden the light is perfect and you're just like, oh my God, that's a painting. Anyway, that happens to me, and I realized that I could do that when I was 11. It occurred to me, whoa, here it is. That's what I've been seeing, and I can make it with my art. Really? So that's how that started. So I was an art major, and then I was a professional artist since 2008, working in galleries. And I actually started this format when I was living in Hayden. I went out to the Carpenter Ranch once a month for a year because I knew the managers there. And so I sort of got that idea of how do you be somewhere and really get to know it? And it's like that kind of discipline, but also that like regular contact. So that was my first show. And my second show, I went to the Perry Mansfield Performing Arts School, and same idea, I went out there once a month for a year. So I kind of already had this format. And then in terms of a next project, I don't know if anybody knows, but it's the Chinese Year of the Horse. And I realized that I didn't do any paintings of horses that whole year last year. And a lot of it is because horses are really hard to paint, especially when I only have, 3 or 4 hours. I could do it, as a studio where everything's in control, and, so I'm painting or drawing a horse every day for a year.
Every day?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just 20 minutes in a sketchbook. Sometimes it's going to the ranch rodeo last weekend up in Clark. and painting those or drawing. Sometimes it's visiting a ranch and painting a horse. But I'm really, really focused on horses, doing that all year long for the year of the horse. So, yes, thank you. Any other questions? Maybe.
And do you see this in your children the way your parents saw that in you at 11?
If they get off those phones. Sorry, Eddie. No, I know, it drives me nuts. They do have a lot of creativity in them, as everyone does. I mean, I think everybody has some way of being creative, even if it's how you decorate your house or if it's, something else entirely, creative problem solving. But yeah, nothing per se, not yet. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
You just mentioned you did some of the things in 3 or 4 hours. Could you talk about the process of like when you saw something in your mind that you wanted to paint and then to completion?
Sure, yeah. So, on high alert for seeing that painting first, right? You're like looking around, really open and thinking, what can I see that really speaks to me? And like Judy said about the layers, stories you were telling me about your family and all the women and how strong they were and the layers. And then I went out and I saw the mature cottonwood, the cottonwood that had fallen, the dried, and then the baby cottonwoods that were growing. And I thought, that's it. So I kind of have it in my mind first, the motif. That's called a motif. And you set up, what is the motif? And then I have maybe a sketchbook to kind of design the, just a tiny little thumbnail of the composition so that you don't end up with something right in the middle or other problems that are hard to solve. And so I do a little sketch, and then I just set up my easel with my paint that I'm very familiar with where it is on my palette, and just do what is called alla prima, where you're painting wet into wet. So it's like everything happens all at once and you finish the painting entirely in that one setting, that one time. And you just hope and pray that you make it. I'm telling you, it's like life or death in the center. You're just like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. It's very hard. When people see painters, they're like, oh, you must be having such a wonderful time. You're like, or I feel like I'm dying, So it's very hard.
I thought that was called plein air painting.
It is plein air painting, plein air or outdoor painting. Is when you're outside. Yeah. Yes.
So does the land trust enable the rancher to avoid the tax man?
Avoid what?
The tax man, there's a lot of different layers of tax benefits when you do a conservation easement, but primarily it reduces the value of the land, so you have a less of an estate burden. And you also get an additional exemption from your estate taxes, so that's one reason people do it. It helps with the estate planning to get it to the next generation. And then on top of that, you do get tax deductions and tax credits for doing it state and federal, but that's just for the generation that does the easement, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes. How were you affected by the weather when you were out there in the winter or spring when it might be wet or snowy?
Yeah, I did watch the weather, as Megan knows. I'd be emailing. I think it's going to be sunny next week on Tuesday, So yeah, it was very much waiting for good weather. And I paint outside in the winter. The key is sun. If it's sunny, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I also put, the blue insulation foam. I put that out and I stand on it so my feet don't get too cold in the snow. I have various tricks. Yeah. But yeah, definitely watch the weather. Mainly wind is hard.
Wind.
Yeah. But. Betty?
You do some murals, right?
Oh, I used to. Yeah, that was my beginning.
So you're not doing them anymore?
No, I don't do murals anymore. I'm getting older. Murals are a young person's thing. I was like lugging around all those 30-foot ladders and being out in the sun, and that was hard work. Yeah, I do my little paint kit and I bring that on my backpack, so I still have some physicality in my work, but nothing like murals. Yeah.
That was going to be my question as to how did you
Yeah.
plan out a mural?
Oh, yeah. Similar, think about the idea. What's the big idea I'm trying to say? And then do little sketches. And then sometimes I would use a grid where you mark it out and make it from little to big. And I still do that in my studio. Sometimes I used a projector. Sometimes I used I made this tracing thing for those 2 rams at Sirocco High School that hit each other on the corner of the building. I did that. And that was in the June wind. And that was so scary. It was like I was blowing around and it was so scary. But that I had to use a plastic sheet with holes that I cut through it and kind of use it as a stencil. Because there's no other way to get that image up there. Yeah, talk about creative problem solving. Yeah, I'm living it easy now in my studio.
What about the ones you've done that have been affected by the sun and are a bit faded now?
I know, yeah. I know. Murals, it's an imperfect art. It's an impermanent thing. I've had a lot of murals that look great and then somebody else bought the place and painted it. I've had other murals that it's time to replace it, but I don't have anything to do with it.
Right,
it's not mine.
Right.
So I encourage them to do that, but murals, I don't think they're supposed to last a really long time. Yeah. Any other questions? What time is it? Are we good to?
Yes.
10 minutes.
10 till? Okay.
I have a question for Judy.
Judy. Here you go.
Okay. What does the future of your ranch look like?
Funny that you should ask, because this is what I'm really struggling with now. We have no children. The niece and nephews have children who are not interested in agriculture. I'm struggling. There's options, and I'm going to have to say, whatever I come up and decide to do, I have to be at peace with what I've done, and whatever they do with it from then on is going to be in their hands. But I think the way the families talked about the past generations' sacrifices to hold on to it during the dirty 30s and the 50s and today and the escalating prices, I think there's some thread there that's going to hold it together, I hope, which is the hope of Jerry and Mabel. Mabel put it in a trust, so Jerry received it from Mabel. Jerry put it in a trust, so I received it from Jerry. If that's the mechanism I might use, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
But I better start, because time's happening. And we're not guaranteed tomorrow for any of us. But it is a challenge. And it would be nice if there were some young man or woman that would be in their 20s or 30s that want to sacrifice. Maybe they'd have an off ranch job, but it still takes a ton of money to upkeep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
You
Thank
hit on
I know,
what
sorry.
I've been thinking
Well,
about.
I have a follow-up on a lighter note. Can you tell us more, like, how did probably Leon get the cows to market from out there? Where were they going to, and how'd they get them down?
By the time I got to the family, before the decade before I got in the family, they drove the mamas and the babies to Hayden. Hayden had a depot, a stockyard. At one time, it was the largest shipping point for sheep in the area. But they drove those mamas and babies to town and separated them off and sent the babies on the train to Denver. And so that's where the calves were sold, which was not at auction, but it was a different, the buyers would come by the cattle pens and wheel and deal with you. That was before me. When I got into the family, it was trucking, like Valley Transfer of the Bakers. So they put them on the truck out there.
At the
Ranch.
Yeah.
And it did. And during Jerry's and my tenure, we had trucks out, but we sold at Greeley, and then later we sold down at Fruta.
Oh.
But yeah, they had a day or two to get to town, because you don't want to take the fat off the calves, so you didn't run them to town. You know, you eased them through. And Mom Green talked about they get to come through the town, and I'll be darned if all the housewives were out there shaking their rugs, banging the doors. I mean, they had some problems, but not too many. I mean, Hayden was pretty small at that time, but yeah, they had some good times. One other thing, it was during stock show, and Grandma and Grandpa took Jerry and Sally to stock show, and the folks stayed home. Well, they had a sleeping berth, and Grandma had the 2 kids in there. They were little ones. And she was in there in the berth with them, and a drunk came along and tried to get up in the berth with them. And Grandma took Jerry's little cowboy boot and beat on him to get him out. But that, you know, that's just part of the happenings.
I have a follow-up for you question, Judy. So you were asking about the future. Tell us about how you decided to be in the land trust, this land trust.
Well, we have 2 trusts. The trust that was Jerry's mother's, and then we had some, Jerry and I had land of our own. So we didn't combine them because Megan thought it would be simpler with the 2 names on. Okay. We heard about the land trust. We weren't the very first one in the county to do it, but it was Jerry's very strong feeling to preserve this land and to keep it as open space and not develop the river, which is like Jay Fetcher up north. But we felt that was the only avenue that we could do to go and protect it. Because if we'd have sold, which there were plenty of opportunities to sell down the way, it would have been gone. So the land trust, especially with the Colorado Cattlemen, seemed a very viable way in which we could do that. And it's a real major thing to go through and get all the rights and the water rights and the land rights, and it's mineral. You had to go through archaeology, and it's a big process to do it, and it's fairly expensive to get into it at the beginning. But I feel very positive that the land trust is a positive thing for agriculture, because if I have to sell the ranch, whoever gets it has to maintain it as an agricultural endeavor rather than a development. They can't come in and put houses on it or develop it into a ski hill or etc. So we felt very confident through that vehicle that it would be preserved.
I have a question. It's probably a dumb question because I'm not.
Teachers
familiar-
always say there's never a dumb question.
Okay. Did you ever raise sheep as well as cattle?
Jerry's grandparents did, and they also raised hogs, as being told. So it was a multi-purpose thing. Jerry's mom raised turkeys and butchered them for Thanksgiving. So they had to develop our side. And they had the milk cows. The milk cows, the cream that went to Denver on the train paid for the groceries for that family. So it was a multi-purpose thing.
But not when you owned it. It was
No.
purely cattle.
They were always
Okay.
gone.
All right, sheep more difficult to raise or?
You're asking the wrong lady. I
Megan.
don't know anything about this, but yeah, Megan would know.
It's not more difficult, it's different labor because you need a herder for sheep. One interesting fact is when my husband's grandparents owned the ranch, the sheep, just from shearing, the wool covered the entire year's operating cost of the ranch. So it was really profitable, and then the meat was just on top of that. Today, when you shear sheep, the wool covers the cost of the shearing.
which is no
Drastic.
one wears wool anymore.
Yeah.
It's synthetics, it's cotton.
Yeah. But we still raise sheep. They're long run. They've been a bit more profitable than cattle because they mature. 5 or 6 months, you have a marketable animal, and they have two babies instead of one. So, but there's a lot of labor.
You mean per bird? They
Yes,
generally have
yes, they
two.
twin. Yep.
They have twins. Normally, yes.
So I think we're almost done. I just want to say thank you again so much to my two co-presenters, to Katie, and if you can go to the show, look for Megan's daughter's drawing. Speaking of lambs, I was out there one day in May and we were doing art together, and her daughter Ella is one of those superstars. You need to keep your eye on this girl. She's going to do amazing things. But she did some drawings of the lamb, and after she was done, I was struggling so much because they were moving and I just didn't know them that well. And I was like, oh, that's how you do it. I mean, her anatomy, her understanding of the anatomy of the sheep, it was amazing. I mean, you can see she knows these animals.
How old is that child?
She was
10.
Yep.
Oh.
She's 10 now. I think she's 9 when she did that. And her drawing is in my show, and her doing her art is in the show photo with Megan. And yeah, I mean, it really shows you. It's like art is understanding, you know, and that is really the heart of this show, is understanding each other, understanding the land, and using art to show that process. And Ella showed me. She understands the sheep. Yeah, it was really, really cool. So thanks again for coming. It's a real honor to see all your friendly faces, and thank you to Katie for hosting this. Thank you.